Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fundamental questions in all of biology. What does it actually mean to be alive? We look around and we see trees, animals, people, but what is the common thread that ties all living things together? It's a set of non-stop essential jobs that every single organism has to do just to stay in the game. It's not one single thing, but a beautiful, complex dance of processes, a true symphony of survival. So let's start with this really powerful question. What does it cost to be alive? And I'm not talking about money here. Think about it. Your body is performing millions of tasks every single second. Your heart has been pumping blood since before you were born, and it won't take a single day off for your entire life. Can you imagine running a car engine for 80 years straight without ever turning it off? No way. It would break down in a week. So what's the secret? What is this energy, this constant work and maintenance that life demands? That's what we're going to unpack.
And the secret really boils down to these 4 critical functions. We call them the life processes. The best way to think about them is like the 4 core departments of a giant living factory. You've got nutrition, that's the department for getting raw materials. Then there's respiration, which is the power plant converting those materials into usable energy. You need transportation, the logistics network to deliver everything. And finally, you have excretion, the waste management and sanitation crew. Every single one is absolutely essential. If even one of these departments shuts down, the whole factory grinds to a halt.
All right, so let's start at the very beginning. First things first, right? Before you can do anything else, you need fuel. You need raw materials. And that brings us to our first life process, nutrition. This is all about how living things get the food they need, not just for energy, but also for building and repairing their bodies. It is the absolute foundation for everything else that follows. Now, in the world of nutrition, living organisms have basically figured out 2 main strategies. You can either be a maker or you can be a taker. The makers are called autotrophs. Auto means self, and troph means nourishment. So they are self-nourishers. They're the ultimate chefs of the natural world, cooking up their own food from the simplest of ingredients. On the other side, you have the takers, the heterotrophs. Hetero means other, so they get their nourishment from others by eating plants or other animals. Let's talk about the makers first, specifically the photoautotrophs. And honestly, this is where the real magic happens. Plants are the undisputed champions here. Just think about what they accomplish. They take 3 of the most basic things you can find on our planet. Sunlight, which is literally just energy from a star 93 million miles away, water from the ground, and carbon dioxide, the gas we breathe out, and they turn it into food. It's incredible. They are the ultimate producers, the foundation of nearly every food chain on Earth. And where does this incredible chemical reaction take place? Well, if you zoom into a plant cell, you'll find these tiny green structures called chloroplasts. These are the solar-powered food factories of the plant. Inside them is a green pigment called chlorophyll. That chlorophyll is like a microscopic solar panel. Its job is to capture the energy from sunlight and kickstart the whole process of photosynthesis. And this is it. This is the recipe for life on Earth. It might look like just a chemical equation, but it's so much more. On the left, you have the ingredients, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water. The arrow represents the cooking process, powered by sunlight. And what comes out on the other side? 1 molecule of glucose, that's C6H12O6, which is a simple sugar, the plant's food. And then, as a byproduct, you get 6 molecules of oxygen. Just think about that. The oxygen we all breathe is technically a plant's waste product. Okay, so what about us, the takers? We can't just stand in the sun and make our own food, right? We rely on a process called holozoic nutrition, and it happens in 5 clear steps. First is ingestion. That's the easy part, just putting food in your mouth. Then comes digestion, where our body uses enzymes to break down the complex food into simpler molecules. Third is absorption. Those simple molecules pass through the walls of our intestine and into our bloodstream. The 4th and super important step is assimilation. This is when our body's cells actually take up these nutrients from the blood and use them for energy, growth, and repair. And finally, there's egestion, which is getting rid of the undigested stuff. It's like a super efficient assembly line inside you. So we've successfully acquired our fuel through nutrition. Fantastic. But having a full tank of petrol in your car doesn't get you anywhere, does it? You need to turn the key and start the engine to release that energy. That's exactly what our next life process is all about. This is respiration, the process of unlocking the energy that's stored inside that food. Now, this is a really important point, so listen carefully. When we say respiration in biology, we are not just talking about breathing. Breathing is just the mechanical act of taking air in and out of our lungs.
The real action, the main event, is cellular respiration. This happens inside every single one of your trillions of cells. It's a chemical process where the cell takes glucose, burns it using oxygen, and releases the energy that powers absolutely everything you do.
Now, take a close look at this equation. Does it seem familiar to you? It should. It's almost the perfect mirror image of the photosynthesis equation. We take one molecule of glucose, the food we got from nutrition, and combine it with 6 molecules of oxygen that we breathe in. And what do we get out? We release 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 6 molecules of water, and the most important product of all, energy, in a special form called ATP.
And that brings us to this little superstar molecule, ATP, which stands for adenosine triphosphate. The best way to think of ATP is as the energy currency of your cells. The energy stored in glucose is like a 1,000-rupee note. It's valuable, but you can't use it to buy a small chocolate. Your body first breaks down that glucose and converts its energy into these small spendable coins of ATP. Whenever a cell needs to do any work, contract a muscle, send a nerve signal, build a new protein, it spends an ATP molecule to get the job done. It's the universal power source for life.
So to keep this whole energy factory running, we need a constant supply of oxygen. And for that, we have this incredible piece of biological engineering, our respiratory system. Your lungs aren't just hollow bags. They're packed with millions of tiny balloon-like air sacs called alveoli. If you were to flatten out the surface of all these alveoli, they would cover an entire tennis court. All of that surface area is folded up neatly inside your chest, just to make sure we can transfer oxygen into our blood as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Okay, so let's recap. We've brought fuel into the body through nutrition. We're unlocking its energy and our cells through respiration. But wait a minute, the food is in your stomach and the oxygen is in your lungs. How do you get those essential supplies to a brain cell or a muscle cell in your toe? You need a delivery network, a sophisticated body-wide courier service. And that is our third life process, transportation.
And at the absolute center of this entire network, we have the engine, the main pump, the human heart. This organ is just a marvel. It's a muscle that works tirelessly, beating around 100,000 times a day, pushing blood through a vast network of blood vessels. How vast? If you took all the arteries, veins, and capillaries in your body and laid them end to end, they would stretch for nearly 100,000 kilometers. That's enough to circle the Earth 2.5 times. And the heart powers this entire system every second of your life. Now, in humans and other mammals, we have a particularly clever system called double circulation. As you can see in this diagram, the blood passes through the heart twice for every one complete trip around the body. Why? Well, one loop, the pulmonary circuit, sends the deoxygenated blood, shown here in blue, to the lungs to get a fresh supply of oxygen. Then that oxygen-rich blood, shown in red, comes back to the heart, which then pumps it out with great force on the second loop, the systemic circuit, to the rest of the body. This separation is super efficient. It ensures that our muscles and organs get a high-pressure supply of fully oxygenated blood, which allows for our high-energy lifestyle.
And, hey, it's not just us animals who need a transport system. Plants are just as sophisticated. They have their own version of plumbing. They have 2 main types of transport tissues. Xylem is like a set of drinking straws that pulls water and minerals up from the roots to the leaves. It's a one-way street going up. Then there's phloem, which is like a food delivery service. It transports the sugars made in the leaves during photosynthesis to all the other parts of the plant that need energy, like the roots and fruits. And this is a two-way street. It can move the food up or down.
Okay, we've reached our fourth and final essential process. Think about it. Any busy factory that's taking in raw materials and producing energy is also going to produce waste. And our body, the factory of life, is no different. You can't just let that waste pile up or it will become toxic. So you need an efficient waste management and disposal system. This is the crucial job of excretion. The simple fact is, the millions of chemical reactions happening in your cells right now, the ones that keep you alive, they all produce byproducts. Some of these byproducts, like urea, are harmful if they build up in the blood. So, excretion isn't just about taking out the trash. It's a life-or-death process of removing these metabolic poisons from the body. It's a key part of maintaining what we call homeostasis, keeping the internal environment of your body stable and balanced. In us humans, the main system responsible for this is the urinary system. It's basically a highly advanced blood filtration plant. The kidneys are the primary filters. The ureters are the pipes that carry the waste fluid, now called urine, away from the kidneys. The urinary bladder is a storage tank,
And the urethra is the exit pipe. It's a dedicated, specialized system designed for one purpose: keeping your blood clean.
And if we could zoom in way down inside the kidney, we would find the real stars of the show, the nephrons. Each of your kidneys contains more than 1 million of these tiny, microscopic filtration units. This is where the magic happens. Blood flows into the nephron under pressure, and it's meticulously filtered. Waste products like urea are pulled out, but here's the clever part: essential substances like glucose, water, and salts are reabsorbed back into the blood. It's an incredibly smart and precise purification process happening on a massive scale.
So as we bring it all together, I hope you can see that these 4 processes aren't just separate topics in a textbook. They are deeply, beautifully interconnected. They form a continuous cycle that defines life. Nutrition provides the fuel. Respiration unlocks the energy from that fuel. Transportation acts as the delivery service for that fuel and energy. And finally, excretion cleans up all the waste generated by these activities. You can't have one without the others. It truly is a symphony, with each section playing its part in perfect harmony. And that leaves us with one final, fascinating thought. Everything we've talked about today, from chloroplasts, the nephrons, from xylem to double circulation, these are the solutions that life on Earth has come up with over billions of years of evolution. But are they the only solutions? When you think about the possibility of life on other planets, it makes you wonder, right? How might an alien organism get its fuel? How would it transport nutrients or get rid of waste? Life is creative. Perhaps there are other, completely different ways to solve these same fundamental problems. It's a pretty amazing thing to think about. Thank you so much for joining me today.